what happens? And so when you think about it logically, there's that process of the seeds in the ground. And so what we're going to be covering tonight is that kind of in between phase of seeds in the ground to harvest time.
Welcome to the Howie and Beastmode podcast, where we discuss all things business, including growth, strategy, and execution, as well as personal and professional development. Let's join Howie and Beastmode in conversation.
All of last week when we were talking about branding, is it personal? Is it business? And the answer was yes. Yes, it is. And the real epiphany that I've had for a few years now that I'm really trying to get across to everyone that I speak with is that personal branding and business branding go together. They're not separate. They're not something, well, I'm going to go work on my business brand and it has nothing to do with my personal brand or vice versa. And I'm going to give you a couple examples and we're really going to talk for just a few minutes about why that's the case. My two examples that I want to make sure that we kind of get in the back of our mind are Oprah and Tiger. And I just want to lay them out here for you. Oprah, uh, before her recent activity with getting her own network, Oprah, had her own show. It was very personal. She brought guests on. She talked about her own personal life. Now she was worth a lot of money, and from the standpoint of the business side, it sounds like she's doing well businessly, but what it is her personal brand was doing awesome. It's Oprah Winfrey show. It's her show. She's not on a separate show and she's a guest, right? That's not the way it was. Okay. But she was very personal, very relatable, very outspoken. She had obviously things that are private, her family life, a lot of things that were going on were private. Some of it came out, some of it did not. But again, it wasn't about personal. Again, does not mean I'm talking about wife and kids. It doesn't mean I'm talking about a fight I just had or a separation. That's not it. Are you available to do so? Sure. Is there a boundary line that everybody should have? Yes. Again, personal just means it's about you. Meaning, so if we're talking about a personal brand, oftentimes we're talking about something that affects you. Hey, this is going on in my life, meaning this is a business circumstance that I'm in, but this is how this is a business circumstance that I'm going through, but this is how I'm addressing it. Or this is a failure that I had. I had this particular moment in a business call and I addressed it this way and I should have addressed it this way. Can you relate? It's personal. It's about you. It's not just a hypothetical circumstance or feeling that happened. It is about you. Makes it personal, right? And so Oprah was very personal in the fact that she involved herself in so many things. It was about her, right? On the back end, we didn't know a whole lot about the business. She did very well, made money. We understand that. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we're going to talk about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, very big business brand. It was the Tiger Woods brand. It was his golfing apparel. It was the clubs. It was the Nike deals. It was things like that. That was the business side. And many of us, up until the things that happened a decade or so ago, had no idea who Tiger was behind closed doors. Had no idea the type of person he was, because he was very adamant about not bringing personal into business. Okay, so we really gave our two separate sides of the spectrum. One that's really very personal. We don't talk a lot about business at the time, and then the opposite end of the spectrum that was very business heavy. It was all business, all golf, all about work, 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 not a whole lot of personal stuff. And then what happens is, here's our example. Tiger Woods had an incident that made his personal life now public, right? And what happened is, over the next decade or so, his business brand began to drop very rapidly. Okay. And you could see, hopefully now it's coming to light, that as we're talking about it and as we're pointing it out, his side began to say, hey, you have to address, we want business to go up. We have to address the personal. And so Tiger, now you have to do press conferences more than when you just win. You can't just do one when you win. You have to do one when you lose. You have to do one when you're coming in dead last. You have to do one whenever you're missing the cut. You have to do one whenever you're not even invited. Okay, Tiger? You have to be personal. You got to talk about failures. You got to talk about some things that are going on. You don't have to talk about your kiddos. You don't have to talk about that. It's going to get asked just because that's the nature of the media. But for you, you have to talk about you now because that's now brought out to the light and because you want the business brand to go up. The only way it's going to go up is now you have to elevate your personal brand. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Oprah Winfrey, amazing personal brand, just an amazing, outgoing, mantra of who she is. And then what happens is she's going to start a network. And what happens is the network cannot be successful. The business side cannot be successful unless it attaches the Oprah Winfrey name and unless it attaches her show to it. It can't be separate. So she's having to elevate the business side, the business brand of the own network of her trying to now make business more of who she is. She's having to do that by attaching and pushing it up with her personal brand, right? On the opposite end of the spectrum, we saw what happened. We had a very high business brand in Tiger Woods. And what happened is once we found out, again, whether we should have found out or not, that's really irrelevant. But what happens is whenever the personal brand is not developed, whenever it's underdeveloped compared to the business brand, whenever that comes to light, the business brand can only retroactively come down to the personal brand. There's no other way for it to go. And the only way for it to get back elevated, okay, and this works on either side. So the only way for Tiger Woods to elevate his business brand again is to elevate his personal brand. He's got to come across like a loving, normal guy. Hey, we all mess up. Okay. Because if you go look at his interviews prior to whenever all this happened, he was not a nice guy. He was very to the chase. It was I'm a robot. I'm superhuman. I do golf and that's it. We're not talking about anything else. And quite frankly, it's off limits. Now when you see him, he's a lot more loose. He's jokey. He's, hey, I'm one of you guys. Hey, you win some, you lose some. That's not who I want to be. That's where I'm going. He's using a lot of more mantras and a lot more lingo to make him more relatable because his personal brand now has to get developed, right? It has to get developed for the business brand to elevate. On the other spectrum, Oprah is the exact same way. For her business brand to thrive, it has to be pushed up and elevated by the personal brand. And quite frankly, a personal brand elevating a business brand is a lot more. The personal brand manually develops the business brand, because you're adding yourself to it. And so what happens is as long as your business, the idea, the service, the product, whatever it is a successful one, again, you can't make something out of nothing. So as long as it is a successful idea and it's got a good operations, good management, good leadership, all those different things, then the personal brand will just naturally push things up, right? And so we see that in what we're seeing that phenomena now a lot, where you're actually seeing a business who has no personal brand. They have no thing that makes them personal. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to go get an influencer to bring your personal brand, come make your personal brand part of our brand so that it'll elevate us because their personal brand is underdeveloped. Okay. And then what happens is, say you're on the opposite end. Maybe you are an influencer. You have a lot of people that are following you for good reason, for bad reason. It's really irrelevant. But what happens is now you want to launch a product. You want to be something different. You want to not be known for whatever you're in the role of an influencer for. And what happens is trying to get that up to where the elevation is very difficult because you didn't stagger them up together. You didn't ladder them up. And it's very difficult. So the only way they elevate, the only way a personal brand elevates to a business brand is if the business reaches down and pulls it up. And by doing so, the business brand actually has to go down and get the personal brand. The personal brand cannot reach up and pull its way up. It has to go down. Same thing. If you have a really strong personal brand and you're trying to bring your business up, your business cannot reach up and pull itself up to the personal brand. The personal brand has to go down and pull its way back up. And so for me, whenever I'm getting in contact with individuals who are just starting out, I'm trying to save you the headache of elevating, and then realize, oh my gosh, I have no personal brand, I have no story. I got to go back and get it. And so I got to retroactively go down. Or, hey guys, my story's amazing. Oh yeah, I have a product, service, and idea. Let's talk about that. And now I have to reach down and go grab it. You do them at the same time. You stagger them up. As one is growing and growing, growing, you go back in that moment. So you go from a 4 to a 5, a 5 to a 6, a 6 to a 7, and you're just constantly pushing, leveling up like a staircase, as opposed to trying to level up like a ladder. Okay, it's very difficult. So, you're saying, hey, Beast Mode, I'm in a situation, I got a 20-year business, then we're thriving and everything like that. But what happens is we're thriving on only customer referrals because our customers love us and they tell others about us. But what, we're at that same expansion rate because we can't pierce into new markets because, quite frankly, if you've never used us, you don't know about us. We try to break into commercials, we try to do paid ads, and what happens is we don't have the name, the personal recognition, and so we get swept away. And so what I'm telling you is you have to immediately begin developing a personal brand. You have to immediately start getting personal with whatever your business is, whoever it is. You got to start bringing that story out immediately, as fast as you can, and you have to stack them up. It's exponential, right? So if you're having, you have 7 posts in a week, you're going to have to make 5 personal and 2 business, or the other way around. If you're very heavy personal, you're going to make 5 business and 2 personal. And so that's why constantly I'll tell people on social media, you cannot market your business on your personal account. You have to have a separate business, a separate entity. It's not you. Now, what you need to do is you need to have your business creating content that's awesome, that's talking personally and professionally, and it's valued content. And then you need to go grab that content and share it on your personal page. Hey guys, not only am I an awesome person, but you know what? I do this over here. And it's something that I spend a majority of my time doing every week. This is who I am. Yes, that's what we need to do. Okay. And same thing the opposite way around. Our businesses should be grabbing our employees' content. Our businesses should be taking our employees' ideas and putting them on top of our business and elevating our individuals. We talked about that last time. We should be grabbing, our managers. And these are people that we've empowered. We should be grabbing their content and elevating, putting them on. Maybe you got a really awesome business brand. Well, you know what you should do? You should elevate your employees' personal brand by sharing their content. You should elevate them. You should help make them known. Now, again, we also talked about when you walk into a business and you have a rockin' personal brand, then what happens is I'm walking in with 8, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 engaged people that all I have to do is grab this content over here about this new job that I took, this new idea that I'm a part of, this new avenue that I'm going down, and I drop it over here. And now I have, again, 5, 10, 20, 100,000 individuals that are actively now engaged. How valuable is that to a business that is maybe struggling to get new eyes, new viewers? And I got somebody that I just hired that has 50,000 people that constantly check out their content every day. Are you kidding me? I should be tapping into that. I should be feeding that. Keep doing what you're doing. And by the way, once a week, grab something that we do and drop it on yours. Help us out. It goes both ways. And so again, to hammer it down, personal and business branding done right are not separate. They actually work together. They're tethered together. And if you're listening to this, or you're just going to continue down the same pathway, what you're doing is you're tethering yourself farther and farther away. And so what happens is it's a lot easier to pull something when you're close to it. So if I want to move, if I'm a tugboat and I'm pulling a cruise ship, I don't want to be really far away from it to get that cruise ship to move. I want to be really close, as close as I can to functionally be able to do my job. What happens is if I attach a tugboat and the cord to pull it is a mile long, it takes a lot more effort for that tugboat to not only move this cruise ship, which it's designed to do, but to direct it and to guide it to where it needs to be. That's why you can't let one outrun the other. Because if you have a cruise ship sized business brand and you have a tugboat sized personal brand, if they are really far apart, it takes a lot of effort to, number one, get one to move the other. Or what happens if that cruise ship is supposed to be going left, but they manually turn it right? It's going to fling that tugboat all over the place. And so you have to keep them as close as possible. I can't stress it enough. I've said it 2 times today. I'll probably keep saying it. Personal branding is not family. It's not family. Get creative when you talk about personal branding. Talk about your personal failures in business. Talk about your personal failures in developing your product, your service, your idea, even your voice. Whenever you are working on your pitch, whenever you're working on your daily sales call, whenever you're working, I know most companies nowadays, have a call 10, source 10 type deal where you're working on that, and as you're working each and every day to go through your cold calls, there's so many mess ups. There's just so many things that I wish I would have said this differently. Talk about that. Talk about how I wish, if you do talk personal, here's an example. I talk about, hey, I wish I would have clocked out at 5 o'clock instead of to stay until 7, because that personal thing over here, taking my son to sports, that's really important. And I want everyone to know that it's okay to clock out. It's okay to leave things on your desk because it's going to be there tomorrow. It's okay. Talking personal like that is totally normal, and it makes you so relatable because everybody's going through this. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in, to following us, for sharing our content. I know Howie and I thoroughly enjoy sharing with you. And until next time, it's been Branding with Beastmode. I would just go to the opposite perspective. So if I'm trying to focus on how I'm selling a customer, then I would go look at how are we being sold? Whatever we're being sold on, what do we not like whenever we get sold? How is that similar to what our customers feel?